Let's start with what leads.
United States of America, the republic for which stands one nation, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. First, please do the roll call.
Alderman Johnson. Alderman Fairwell.
Here.
Alderman Rita. Alderman Montoya.
Here.
Alderman Key.
Here.
Carr. Here. Alderman Roll.
Here.
5-0.
The motion to approve the minutes of the committee of the whole meeting, October 12th, 2022. It's a motion. Alderman Carr, second Alderman Montoya on the question.
On page 3, if we can have it stipulate where it says cities that specifically mention the Raleigh Park.
Under which one?
The comment about the car crashing into the fence at Hart Park.
Oh,
It's the
hot line.
yes, it's the
Okay. Any other comments or questions? Now, please do the roll call.
Alderman Fairwell.
Aye.
Alderman Montoya.
Aye.
Alderman McGee.
Aye.
Alderman Carr.
Aye.
Alderman Roll.
Aye.
5 ayes, Your Honor.
Thank you. Public comment? Public comment? Next, under mayor's reports, resolution for the city of Blue Island, County, Illinois, authorizing and approving an intergovernmental agreement for participation in mutual aid box alarm system. And I know the fire chief is here. If there's any questions, or do you want to talk about it for a minute?
No, just a an agreement that we have with maintenance, multi-year box alarm systems. It's the same one as before it's been signed every year and never approved. Just saying that we're gonna help others when they need it, and they're gonna help us essentially when it gets down to it. So no changes.
Any questions for the chief? All right, thank you. Chief. All right, moving on, discussion regarding property insurance renewal proposal, the city administrator, this is regarding the physical buildings. If you want to talk about it, it's annual renewal. Physical buildings and.
Tom Wood, City Administrator. This is a renewal of our standard property insurance that we have listed. It represents a lot of our insurance renewals, a slight increase. The broker did take it to market. They did get multiple quotes, I think 3 that are laid out here in the proposal. But by and large, it is very similar to the same annual property insurance liability that we have carried for city owned properties.
Any questions? All right. Moving on. Rental fee structure, the John D. Reader Center.
Otherwise,
Yeah.
and if it's all right, I can speak to this and the next agenda item kind of all in one philosophy here in terms of what as the administration, what we would like to advance in the next council meeting. One of the areas we noticed upon arrival here is we are very, very antiquated in our fee structures. In some cases, they don't exist. So just speak to the rec center first. Since our arrival here and Mark has administration of this, we have been approving kind of piece by piece requests for rec center access, basically. I think existing or council members who've been here for a while probably know the city has an intergovernmental agreement with the Park District related to rec center activity. So the intergovernmental agreement language reads that any city related programs or events take priority. After that, Park District program events take priority from the scheduling, and after that, kind of everybody else in the public, basically. I'm noticing an uptick in requests, and some of this goes back from my previous role as Park District Director. I'm noticing an uptick in requests for rec center usage, and then we're also getting more and more requests for rentals. We have never had a pay structure for the rec center. So what I'd like to do is I've given our attorney, Erin, who I believe is my trainer now, I've given her a couple different examples of some surrounding municipal, both the Park District, the Park District's fee structure for like the banquet room as like a model, and a couple other local ones, one from Tinley. And what I would propose that we should do is formalize how 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 the schedule and structure and fee structure at the park, at the rec center is done. And within that, and obviously we would have the administration, obviously the request of any, all of them, we have the ability to waive fees for, you know, nonprofits that we want to waive fees for. I think common sense would guide a lot of that. But in instances where people are willing to pay, you know, pretty good money for rental space, and rental space on events is very much always in demand. Alderman Montoya can tell you about that. That, you know, whether there's rental space at the park, they open in October for the next year, and it books in a week for the whole year. Right. So the demand is definitely there. So it's definitely a potential revenue source, but the revenue then could then be turned back into rec center improvements, which we're going to get on and do a bunch of the administrative report. But so the ordinance that we're going to bring forward is basically a standard fee structure. Not that we're, you know, trying to chase anybody out or any of our community groups that we work with have been using the gym. We'll still get access to do so, but we need to formalize our scheduling process, and I believe we have the ability to formalize a rental structure for the benefit of the rec center and for the residents who want to use it. And right now, we don't really do rental because we haven't had that. We haven't really had a structure and arrangement to do that. So, and then as far as things like liability and things like that, until we are where we want to be with liability, anything we rent out would have to just as part of the show proof of their own insurance, show they're covered for any incidents, anything like that. So, so that is the philosophy of what we're going to try to bring forward to the next council meeting. We'll I know since the attorney and I have been talking about using some comparative language on rate fees and schedules. We'll get that information together and share that before the meeting, so you have a chance to know what we want.
Would you call City Hall often and ask, like, where do they work? Do they work, you know, I always say the park district outside the golf course, you know, non-golf season, like throughout the Eagles. So they do call often, yes.
Alderman?
This in the rec center is probably one of the areas which are least knowledgeable in the city. But I know that Alderman Johnson is pretty involved there. Can you discuss this with him? I would want to know that he was comfortable with it.
Yeah, we have discussed it at a 1,000-foot level, right? I mean, we got to get language ordinance together to talk about pricing, but in our discussions, I think that one of the areas we did touch on is we want to make sure that, you know, the rec center is a community asset, right? We want to make sure that community groups are able to use it and utilize it. So making sure that we're not just chasing dollars and filling up the schedule with, you know, with paid parties and stuff, that the priority be youth athletics, things like that, and then we're setting very reasonable. You know, sometimes in youth athletics, I would point out, you know, if it's not, you know, the media, for example, park district, for example, sometimes youth athletic groups are charging fees to the parents for these. A lot of those fees, access to space, is considered part of the fee structure, right? So it's understood that that's part of it. But I do think we would want to do this in the right way and not, as I said, not just chase dollars and chase existing community groups out. So that's a concern that we discussed, and it's certainly one that we.
All right, any questions? All right, moving on. We have discussion regarding regulation of fire alarm systems.
All right, I'll turn this over to Chief Haywood here in a second, but again, just to give you a general philosophy here, the city does not do what most, probably every municipality, certainly one around us that we touch, does, which is charge a fee for fire inspections for new businesses. And that's not an exorbitant fee, but we are essentially subsidizing fire inspections. And that's just not normal practice in a lot of municipalities. So again, we're looking at some comparative fees, a little bit of that, what the fees also on charges. We're just trying to make sure that we're working right now to solidify our fire inspection process, and we want to make sure that you know, the work is going in there because, you know, the city spends money to train fire inspectors, for example, right? So we have costs on our end of this, say nothing of the time, you know, to have a firefighter out there properly trained to do inspections. So we think a reasonable fee in this business. Not only is it you know, fair, but it's very normal practice in any other municipality. Chief, you want to
So, I mean, not only the fees are just clean up the whole ordinance, a lot of it's obsolete. So if it's, you know, it says you have to transmit to Wyland Dispatch Center, which we obviously don't have anymore. So it's just gonna be a lot of them to clean up. We actually do state in the ordinance, the most current one from 2012, there'd be 2 charge a fee, but then when you look at the fee schedule, it's not, it doesn't exist. So it's just a lot of cleaning up, some bad practices from the past. So was always supposed to be, enforced that, over the years, we just have fire prevention officers to negotiate out our contract. We're just trying to get back up to essentially what we're doing. So, but that's something I put together for next council.
Thank you. Any questions for the fire chief? Thank you. Next, we have mayor's announcements. I'll go off the next city council meeting, but the program, the street resurfacing program is coming to a close. They're on the last few streets now. And landscaping, they said they're still going to try to get back this season, even though originally they gave us doom and gloom. That won't be for next season, but if the weather keeps holding, they're going to backfill, plant seed, trees, all that stuff this season. So, and then we'll be hearing from engineers very soon regarding televising and sewers for projected streets next season. And that can all change depending on some of the streets are intergovernmental agreements. So far, we've only got one back. Waiting for Bell Park Islands. And then we need data from the engineers on what streets can be done within our means sooner, possibly next season, which will all come in the future. City clerk.
I want to thank everybody who took part in Scarecrow event, which will Scarecrow stuff the town park district. The Day of the Dead was awesome. We partnered with the Lyrics this year. Special thanks to the building, public works, fire, police. It was actually a team effort. So that was, we would explain the Day of the Dead was an awesome event. The Hotel Hero banners will be coming down on Monday, and they'll be going back up on Memorial Day. St. Peter and Paul Bake Sale, Sloppy Joe Lunch is November 19th from 11 to 1. Christmas in Blue Island is approaching. December 3rd is a Freedom Mart, still looking for a few vendors. And you can also enter your car or truck in the light parade. Any questions, please call me at the clerk's office. Last, make sure you save the date for the ball drop. The details will be coming soon. That's all I got.
Thank you. Attorney? Thank you. City administrator, discussion regarding garbage ordinance.
Hey, I'm on the city administrator. So, as we're aware, so first off, if you didn't receive it by email, the memo, I issued it a couple hours ago. Apologize, didn't get a whole factor. I want to make sure we had everything right. So two things. One, within the packet that was sent on Monday, there was an additional attachment that listed out a couple different options for what how we want to move forward with the remainder of how the city charges for residents for garbage. I want to thank Mark Petoska for doing the work on crunching a lot of these numbers here too, because we've had to do several variations of this and it doesn't come together quickly. So the memo that I issued earlier was in an attempt to just try to put a narrative around what the next steps the city needs to take now that we've approved our contract with LRS. So as I kind of stated out in the memo, the fee residents pay is comprised of two components. One is pass through to LRS, what LRS charges the city, and then the rest is comprised of what the city charges as administrative fee for a variety of things, including bulk for the entire public works operation, including the bulk pickup and a number of other things. So as we talked about pretty extensively, our effort here ultimately is to move as much bulk as we can, at least on the 1 to 2 items a house, off of our public works department and into LRS. But that will leave still some bulk problems we need to work through. And we're going to take some steps to try to solve this problem in the long term, but we know it's going to take time. So when I say that, I say we do know that we're fully responsible for large bulk pickups, right? Either a large item or multiple items piled up, right? We do know we have a lot of enforcement work to do on these, especially on these pileups, right? These multiple items appearing out in front of often the same place multiple times a month, okay? So we know we have fly dumping. We know that there's a little bit of a reputation in neighboring municipalities that you can dump your stuff in Blue Island and they don't do anything about it, they'll just pick it up, right? So we have some work to do to change some human behaviors here. That's going to take a little bit of time. So the purpose of the memo, like I said, is to offer a staff recommendation that for the moment, the recommendation would be to keep the city administrative fee as part of the garbage bill where it's at. And the main reason I point to is as Mark and I were working through the numbers, a significant cost coming up in public works no matter what. We have years of deferred vehicle maintenance. We're estimating about $1 million of vehicle costs over the next 2 to 3 years, and that's probably being conservative. We're looking at $800,000 of trucks alone, and not because we want new cooler trucks, because the trucks we have are not going to last that much longer. Some of them are already reaching the end of their suggested lifespan for snow removal and things like that. So we know we have some significant costs coming up. We know we want to increase the staffing a little bit if we can to get more done. We do believe that this new contract, the way it's structured, will free up more public works to focus on the priorities we want them focusing on. But we also have no illusion that that's going to happen overnight. And so just to give an example, the 20-foot dumpster fee we pay was a big part of our bulk expense. Whatever the city takes in addition to what we owe LRS in a given month, gets pretty much wiped out by that dumpster. Right, so there's no like profit for the city on that. So if we were to start toying with the city's administrative fees portion of this, the real concern is that the city would start to lose more money, basically, because they said we're not necessarily profit. Now the hope would be, as we get control of our bulk situation, things like those dumpster fees start to go down, right? So it's not $20,000 a month in dumpster fees, right? And then we will start to see some savings, and then we will start to see hopefully a little bit more revenue that we can push back into public works for these things that we want to do. Right, so that's again setting the table for what we're headed for here. I'm happy to take any questions. I might do some tag team work with Mark here as him and I are working on different aspects of this, kind of putting our heads together.
I just want to clarify a couple things before we finish, Tom. We haven't raised anything since for 2021, early 2020, over a year. And since the increase in July, the city has eaten that difference in what we were paying in the last contract and the extension, and even now, and whenever this goes into effect. And we're talking $4. So that $4 difference between what Lakeshore is going to charge us and what that administrative fee is, I'm in the belief we don't need to raise it. But I think we continue the status quo. There's a couple options here. We've already eaten that fee for at least 6 months. We're going to be eating the difference, and I think by not increasing the administrative, but keeping the status quo would be the best option. But I wanted to get the alderman feedback on that. We did get some comparables. If, for example, you got a 2-yard dumpster for a 4-unit or something like that, and that's still way more than what these fees would be even for the 3 flats. So we're still well below the private. If someone called and wanted a private dumpster picked up once a week, but it's something that the council we have to put this into a new ordinance, and we also have to add in a penalty, which we don't exactly have clear of what happens if you catch a fly dumper or someone puts out 30 yards worth of apartment furniture. Right now, we've been picking it up, right? So now we have to add in there, like it should be twice what a 30-yard. 30-yard costs $400, a penalty should be $800. The city has to go pick that up. So that'll be tacked on to the end, just putting some rules and regulations. But right now, we just pick everything up. So I just wanted to let the council know this is the big part of it. We're going to have to discuss possibly a follow-up addendum of penalties and structuring how we go about not picking up 30 yards of garbage in front of one house. So I just wanted to add that in. Alderman?
Yeah, to be clear, what Schedule A represents is that over time, we are passing off the full brunt of the cost increase to our residents. Well, we expect a share of our own costs in public works or waste management to decline. So while we do have no shortage of things to spend our revenues on, what that says is we are asking our residents to carry a larger portion or offset a larger portion of what public works does for waste management while incurring a greater cost. So while, there's some justification to sort of maintaining our charge, I think we should be precise about it. And I think we should consider other things like maybe capping the rate increase year over year, or considering blunting it after the first year once we get a better sense of how our own costs change over time. Personally, I would like to understand how many residences or units fall into each of these groups. I would like to understand exactly what the city takes in terms of revenue as a result of our administrative charge. And I think in order to best make an informed decision, we should at least have some ballpark understanding of how our budget will be expected to change, at least over the next 2 years. We don't have to create a linear fee schedule so far as I'm aware, right? We could say for this first year, we leave things alone. For the next, maybe we offset costs. We've incentivized the administration to do more with less as things change for waste management. So just wanted to kind of throw out my thoughts on all of this. I don't know if option B, if that's just an example, but it appears that would be us using our administrative costs to blunt the cost increase for 2 and 3 flats, is that correct?
Accurate.
Is that just as an example, or is there some reasoning behind that?
The 2 and 3 flats we're getting, seen a larger dollar to dollar impact basically in this model. So when we start applying administrative fees to the new LRS contract, the increases on single family homes, well, no increase is welcome. Feels pretty manageable. The increase on 2 and 3 flat homes I mean, the dollar impact was higher. So if we were to try to find an area where we can provide some relief on that without putting the city in the red in terms of moving from one contract to the next and how it's structured, without losing more money. So, there's lots of different ways you can present this, right? But yes, option B was a notion of providing relief to 2 and 3 flats because those are kind of getting harder hit in terms of their final dollar.
And this is where unit numbers would help, right? Because then we could say that if we were to increase the rate for 2 and 3 flats by $1, we would have a sense of how much money in total we might allocate towards fixed income, like seniors, and have an understanding of, what moving the numbers does for not only our bottom line, but which residences or groups we might seek to protect from the full cost increase.
All right, Alderman.
And we can break all that information down in terms of
Yeah, I-
cohorts of.
That would be my preference.
Yeah.
And we have the data easily accessible for all that stuff, Alderman.
Yeah, I mean, it's essentially what I was gonna, he's in a very articulate way saying what I was gonna suggest, which is it'd be very helpful to see the cost numbers behind this, just so we can understand what policy we're setting in terms of, how much is the increase gonna increase, actual increase, or what are we giving up, or whatever. So I would just, we're flying blind with just the.
And there's a lot going on here.
Yeah.
I'm aware, and I understand, the human eye, your natural reaction is to go to the right bottom corner, right? Because that's how we think. So you're automatically going to see what 2027 3 flat rate looks like, which looks like, oh wow, that's what because by 2027 will be higher because it's going to incrementally go up 3% every year. But yes, we certainly have the data on how many residents each cohort. So we certainly, do some basic extrapolation on that. We have the monthly data on what we take in a month versus what the average LRS bill is a month. Now, I will say, I mentioned this to you in a conversation earlier, we have not gotten our first bill on the new contract yet. And while we can guesstimate all we want, and getting the itemized bill and seeing realistically, hey, what's our monthly payout to LRS going to be? What are we taking in for the program? I don't think you're going to see, like I said, a big splurging margin there that the city's really making bank on. I think what you're going to see is that what we're taking in, we're paying out in dumpsters, but we're going to try to do better on that front.
Under our old rates was pretty tight when we were analyzing.
Yeah. So it's not, it is not a real big margin, but absolutely, before making a vote, you need all the information. So we're going to provide that.
And just kind of slightly off topic, but just so I understand, the new contract is in effect now, right, for everyone. How do the phase of the new policies occur that residents can or can't leave out what they used to leave out, and all that, just explain to them what kind of timetable we're working on to make that transition?
So I have a couple answers. I know that once the contract concluded, we start putting together a newsletter. It's going to be direct mail piece. Actually, Mark probably has a rough draft in his pocket. We're going back and forth on Mark. Mike Schroeder's got to add his knowledge on there. It's going to be Lake Shore's language, with their routes and stuff like that, and then what we were putting in there. We're only going to pick up the 2 yards, like we all agreed 2 months ago. I foresee any rate increases won't happen until after the new year anyway. Every month that does go by, though, our revenue stream has gotten smaller since July because we've been eating it, and we all knew we were doing that. But I foresee this not happening until after the new year anyway. But the direct mail piece, and then us following up the social media, the website, the water bill notifications, that's all got to happen.
Okay, thank you.
So yeah, we'll be doing an aggressive notification campaign, and it will take time. We'll ask your help as alderman in this process, right? Because you'll need to be conduits. So this information. We can't wait for you, right? So yes, there will be a full-throated community education effort on this.
Alderman.
Yes. Mr. Morgan, this is actually regarding the I had an issue, my ward, 138 C division area, that, they didn't pick up the garbage for 2 weeks. I remember, and, we tried to call, Lake Shore. The guy gives you his initial, he won't give you a name. Won't return your phone calls. And my thing is, I don't want to see this issue leak on to like the dumpster or whatever, because that's not a good look. Especially when I got a few sick people down there, and it's a rodent infestation down there now. Garbage sat out there for 2 weeks, and it's not like they're getting a refund for paying for their garbage, right? Or we're paying for their garbage. And I think they need to have a better service than they do, because I had to, call you guys, and you guys reacted on it too, but it still took 2 weeks for them to pick up a week's garbage. They didn't come out. No, and they didn't come out the next day or the next week, and they just smoke and mirrors. You call them, they give you initial, then they don't call you back, and then they tell you it's coming in the next day. And I got people blowing my phone up about it. So I'm not getting a response from them as well as you guys.
So I would say this, as part of the negotiation process, we did have a pretty full burn effort conversation with Lake Shore representatives about this exact issue, which is basically quality of service and response time, right? So I would say a couple things. One, well, it might not be the perfect answer to say, just let us know, we'll take care of it. That's not a perfect answer, but if the point contact at Lake Shore isn't responding or giving initials or whatever, we do have a dedicated administrative contact for you. Who his job is to pick up our call. Okay. Now we can't what I will do is have a conversation with her, with Bill Kenny from LRS, to say how do we want to facilitate communication? Do they want you guys letting us know and us being the point of contact, or are they fine with you guys reaching out to Veronica and making individual requests?
I have been talking directly to Veronica.
Okay.
It's gone quite well. She's very responsive. But I will echo what the alderman says, is that when residents are calling Lake Shore, they're getting told something will happen, someone will get back to them, and it doesn't happen. And then that's when I get the call.
Right on.
And I talk to Veronica, and she's right on it.
Right.
It gets handled.
Getting it right the first time would be
Yeah.
preferable.
Yeah.
I understand.
It didn't happen for me, so.
Okay. We can put some attention on that, because I don't want a situation where garbage gets picked up. Well, we want to know about it quickly. We want to hold them accountable quickly. Because to your point, there's health concerns. Just say no, just know a lot of garbage around. So,
I mean, it's the health concern besides the rodents, because now it's not only the squirrels running in and out of the garbage in that whole area, but rats at nighttime.
understood.
Any other Alderman? Alderman,
If I can just kind of give my experience. I had to call them, and Bill has picked up and made sure that everything was taken care of the next day. So, he's pretty responsive. He's pretty responsive from my understanding.
So now I'm feeling singled out,
No.
because everybody else gets responses, and I had.
I think we can
We forgot.
let's circle back to the issue at hand. We make a bet now we have to lay it. So we'll try to fix the problems at hand. Any other issues or questions about the garbage fee ordinance proposed? Other than getting more information and pushing it. All right. City Administrator, anything anything else?
Yeah, one more thing, real quick. I'll be quick. So real quick, I just wanted to introduce Sean Winston. In addition to being a proud Blue Island resident, Sean is a representative with Compan. They make and design and lay out playgrounds. So I first met Sean when Luis and I were at the Park District working on the renovation of Hart Park. And so he was very helpful with us there and helping us save some money and find the right things that we needed and getting access to them when we had to chase down which warehouse they were in. So I was talking with Alderman Johnson. I know that there's a desire and interest to invest in this next year's appropriations in the playground equipment around the Rec Center and the California Gardens. So I asked Sean to kind of put together a proposal. I know Compan, like I said, they've been very affordable in terms of helping us find installation costs, et cetera. And so he laid out a couple layouts here of what would be a playground center and fitness center at the Reader Rec Center. Basically, you know, about 4 or 5 main features that you focus on, you know, climbing exercises, balancing exercises, rocking, sliding, and then swings. So some classic playground mixed with some newer features, then with a border built around it and fiberwood chips as the as the safety cushion. And then adjacent to that, we would build a small new area out for fitness equipment that could be used more for use by adults. So just various equipment pieces. So my intention is to get all the final numbers together on this. I'll tell you what you're looking at right there is probably about $100,000 in equipment and then installation costs on top of it. So like everything in the appropriations process, we're going to look at this. But the intention would be to get some final costs and make it part of the 2023 appropriations proposal. We think we can. It has been a few years since there's been a real investment in the rec center around their property. There isn't a ton of immediate playgrounds in the area, and driving around, there aren't any real new playgrounds. So I think, me personally, I think a community, especially a lot of young kids around, should have modern playground equipment. I think it's a necessity. And so, this is an area that, I know Alderman Johnson has been pretty passionate about investing in the rec center as a resource. And that's why we're talking about a little more of organized structure around there. And then this would also be part of it. So that's at least the idea where we're at right now.
Yeah, I completely agree that there's the need, no question about it. And I would support this to go down. But I guess my question is this the ongoing question in my mind about the rec center. So we're not a park district, and we don't collect, as I understand it, any taxes that support the rec center. Is that right? There's no funding source for
Not direct tax.
Yeah.
Directly.
And I part of general, it's kind of what it is, but still, it's a weird situation. I never know quite in my mind how to rectify and wonder why isn't this part of the park district, frankly. And what we gotta do about that situation, because this is why the rec center is neglected, because it's sort of this, stepchild of the city. And we need to address that one way or the other somehow, because I don't think this is I agree that this is necessary, it should be done. But from a perspective of the guy, also has to look at city budget, why do we have to pay $100,000 for this? So that's my thought.
My comment is adding the concrete to the basketball for not only $100,000. So I'll be very glad.
Fine.
Any other questions? Alvin?
Also, the rec center, after we work, I was in there Saturday, and the floor is to the paint. There's no shellacking, no kids sliding, but it's actually going into the wood. So that's going to be a bigger issue if we don't do something to rectify.
The new gym floor?
It's not, well, if you want to call it, it's to the wood, to the paint, actually.
We only refinished that, right? 2 years back.
I'm sorry.
It's not it's a refinish for us, not it's not.
Right, we need to
refinish it.
refinish it because it's a very bad condition. And the rims, we need breakaway rims, because like when Eisenhower comes into play, it's a safety issue as well.
All right. Any other questions? Anything else? We do have an executive session. Before that, though, is there any automatic announcements, reports, or comments? Not a motion to go to executive session. Alderman McGee, second Alderman Roll. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right, executive session, motion to adjourn, open regular session, motion by Alderman Earl, second by Alderman Johnson. In executive session, discuss, probable litigation with no, just discussion. All right, anything else? Now I need a motion to adjourn, motion by Alderman Earl, second by Alderman McGee, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Thank you.